Good morning. Today we are starting Unit 3. So we're going to start with CO13. I can interpret and write numeric and algebraic expressions. So we're getting into the more meaty algebra now. So we're doing those algebraic expressions. To start with, we need to know what these terms mean. So an expression, for writing algebraic expressions, an expression is a mathematical, oops, I need to spell correctly, mathematical statement. So an expression is a mathematical statement. And we're going to go over what that looks like. A variable, algebra, I love algebra, I love variables. So a variable is a symbol. Usually we write it as a letter used to represent an unknown value. So when you see the X in the sense, I think we had an N we've used a lot. Yeah. So N plus 5 equals 11. So that is using a variable. That letter is your variable. It stands for a number. We just don't know what the number is yet. So in our Khan Academy, I put something that relates to this. Somebody came up to me and said, oh, it says a quotient. What am I doing? So if we have a quotient, what kind of math are we going to do, Evan? We're dividing. So we need to know what these words, we know division, we know divide, but we need to know what other words stand for that. So we know which operation we're going to do. So if it says, what is the quotient of 18 and 3, we need to know we need to divide 18 by 3. So you need to know what these terms are because they use way more than just multiply, divide, add, subtract. So another way to say divide is we're going to say into groups of. If we have 18 M&Ms and we want to put them in groups of 3, we're going to be dividing, right? I'm just working backwards today because I'm feeling all off kilter with all the stuff happening today. So we're going to work backwards. Let's look at multiplication. Who can tell me what would be a term for multiplication? Gus? The product. If we need to find the product of two numbers, we are going to multiply them. What is another way? Christopher. So we could say groups of, or just of. One more. This one's an easier one. Evelyn? Not multiply, because we already know multiply. That's in our title. What's another way of saying multiply, James? Times. Subtraction. Hugo. Difference. When we find the difference of numbers, we are subtracting. Chance, are you all done? Did you have any questions on anything? What's another way of saying subtracting, Aiden?
Less than.
Less than. And another way, Emmett.
Minus.
Oh, that's not on here, but yes, minus. Shh. We could also say subtracted from or by. which subtracted is up there. But just know, subtracted from or by. Then we have addition. Tegan, sum. What other word is going to clue us in that we are adding? Audrey?
Plus.
Plus. What is another one, Hugo?
All together.
All together. Gus? More than. I have another one listed here. Let's see if you can find it, Emily. Yeah, and we're going to say addition is add. If you're told to find the total,
Oh, yeah.
a total number, we're adding them together. So it's really good to understand these different terms that are used so you know what operation you're going to put in your expression. We need to know if we're adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing based on these other words. So be careful with subtraction. This is key, and I need you to really pay attention. Be careful with subtraction. Unlike addition, the order of your expression matters. With addition, 2 plus 3 is the same as 3 plus 2. They both get us to 5. But subtraction, if we were to say 3 minus 2, that's 1. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Your first number truly matters with subtraction. You're going to get a different answer. So you have to pay attention to the way the wording is as to what's going to be your first number. If the order of operations dictates that a part of the expression be done first, your verbal phrase needs to reflect that. Commas work well. So we're going to see how putting that comma in makes a difference. So, are we all done with the top? Can I erase that?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so we're going to write the verbal phrase as an expression or write the expression as a verbal phrase. And we're going to really pay attention to those commas and what that's telling us. We're going to really pay attention to the subtraction ones.
And division.
Yeah, and division, you're right. Okay, so the first one's kind of easy. The sum of 9 and 7. Sum means we're doing what? Adding. So we're going to say, okay, it's the sum. So I know that I'm adding. So I'm just going to, okay, I'm adding the sum of 9. I'm going to put that first because it comes first in my expression, and 7. I'm not writing an equation. I don't need to answer it because an expression does not have the equal sign. Okay, so I'm not solving it. I'm just writing the expression. Please don't try working ahead because I really want us to be listening because there are very simple mistakes that people make all the time. So let's look at 18 less than 18 less than 12. What is my first number going to be? Priya. So that is what a lot of people will say. 18 is our first number in our expression. It's going to be the first number that I write. But be careful. It says 18 less than 12. When we see less than, we know it's going to be 12 minus the 18 because we want 18 less than 12. So when you see that less than, it's not the way your brains normally think. Because normally we're going to say, okay, 18 minus 12. But that's not telling me what 18 less than 12 is. So you have to be careful when you see that less than. The difference of a number and 9. So if it says a number, what are we going to have to do? Tatum? You can just put n. Okay, so we don't have a number there, so we're going to put a variable.
And when it says difference, you do it in order.
When it says difference, you're going to do it in order. The difference of a number and 9, you're going to go reading left to right like normal. It's the less than that will trick us up. All of the we do have, let's look at the bottom row, we do have that comma.
Oh, yep.
So let's look at that. 3 times a number plus 8. So 3 times a number plus 8. How do you think we're going to write that out? Audrey?
3 times n plus 8.
Yeah, so if I'm going to write 3 times n, what is that going to look like algebraically? How am I going to write 3 times n?
No.
How can I write that using good algebra? What do you think that's going to look like, Christopher?
We just put a 3 and then a 9. Or and then an n and then an n.
3 and then the n right next to each other, because we know that when that number is right next to our variable, or that number is right next to the parentheses, it means that we're multiplying. We don't actually have to put that multiplication symbol in there. We know that 3 next to the n means times, but big kid math, we don't need to put that multiplication symbol. Then it says plus 8. So then we just finish it off, plus 8. So we know we're doing 3n first, so that is the first part.
No, it's
Is
not.
it the exact same?
No, it is not.
Look at where our commas are. 3 times the number plus 8. And then we have 3 times the number plus 8. What do you think that would look like? Because that comma is in a different place. It is a different expression. I'm going to give us a moment to see if we can figure it out. So take a moment and see if you know. I know some of us think we have it figured out. I am going to go with Tegan. What do you think?
N plus 8.
So we know it's a number, so n plus 8 times 3. So that's going to tell us order of operations. I'm going to do 8 times 3 first. Is it saying do 3 times 8? We want to multiply 3 times a number plus 8. So I don't want to do 8 times 3. Because that's not what our expressions is saying. It's a common mistake. What do you think, Alexis?
Parentheses, n times 3 plus 8.
Oops. Like that?
No, like the n and the 3.
Like that? So do we need to put parentheses around a 3 times n? Because we're going to multiply first anyways. So we put parentheses around something that we want to do first that we wouldn't normally do first.
Oh.
Evelyn.
3 plus 8 times n.
3 plus 8 times n.
The parentheses around 3 and 8.
Parentheses around the 3 plus 8. So a number plus 8. So you don't want the n being multiplied because it was a number plus 8. Oh my goodness, this is a tricky one. Priya.
Okay, so in parentheses, n plus 8, parentheses, or yeah, like, no,
Finish.
not
End it. Like, should end it.
Oh, the end parentheses?
yeah,
Okay.
and then times 3.
So, super close.
Oh,
So, you're right. We want to do the number plus 8 in parentheses. Proper algebra. We're going to put the 3 right there.
oh, 3 on the right.
Because you put, when you're multiplying with the parentheses, you put it on the left side of the
And with
parentheses.
variables, you don't put n3.
So, we want that number plus 8. In our expression, it did not have the parentheses written out. Okay, when you say it to me verbally, you say the parentheses, so I know what to write. But when you write the expression, that comma tells us there's going to be parentheses there. Because we know a number plus 8 needs to be times by 3.
This is Gambino.
Yes.
That was very suspenseful.
It was suspenseful. Whew, it took us a while to break it down. All right, so Emily, do you have a question?
I found
The
something.
quotient of 15
I
and
found
a number.
something.
So what does quotient mean? What does quotient mean? Divide. So we know we're going to be dividing. So there are different ways we could write this answer. First, the quotient of 15 and a number. So we're dividing up that 15. The quotient of 15, so that tells us 15 comes first. So 15 divided by n, our number. What's another way I could write that? This time I'll call on you, Hugo. What's another way I could write it? Do you know?
Wait, I know it. I just my brain can't.
Audrey.
15 over n.
15
Oh, yeah, there we go.
over n. We know our fraction bar means divide. On Khan Academy, they're not giving you the division symbol. They're giving you the fraction bar. Okay,
I found something.
Hugo.
Like also with less than, you also have to watch out for subtracted from. Like it said on the bottom right, a number subtracted from 14. It's
Ah,
2.
very good. So a number subtracted from is just like less than. Okay, so that's another key word. If you're subtracting it from 14, think of what your first number needs to be. Let's look at our second page. This time, you're going to write the verbal phrase or write the expression as a verbal phrase. Oh, so it's the same thing. You're just writing out the expression this time.
Well, there's one in the upper left that's.
Yeah, this one you have to write the expression, a number subtracted by 14. And then we have writing out the phrase. So how would I write this for x plus 5? What would I write out? What do you think, James?
Number. Wait. A number
You can look back at your table. Yeah, plus.
5.
Perfect. Is that the only way we could write that?
A number sum 5? Yeah, that's what I was gonna do.
So does that make sense? A number sum 5?
No.
How would we use sum in an expression? Aiden?
Sum of number and 5.
The sum of a number and 5. So you really have to think about which of those terms you're using make it make sense. Hugo.
Also, for the fraction, just make sure you put a comma. If it's like 7 plus n over 3, you gotta put the comma.
Yes. So would we say over?
No.
No. So we would say,
Divided by.
yeah, you could say the sum of a number divided by 3. That makes sense? Sum of a number divided by 3. Sum of 7 and a number. Whew, I got messy. Sum of 7 and a number, comma, divided by 3. So it's a little bit trickier when we have to write our expression out. We have to really think about how we're writing that sentence, that expression. And then we have our review. Okay, so we've got our review problems to do. Any questions on today's work? Okay, so for my friends watching at home, we hope you are well and we hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.